Hey guys, Armando here, and in today's video, I want to answer my friend Devish because he wrote a great post on writer's block, and he asked me, what are my thoughts on writer's block? Having written one book, I'm in the process of writing my second book, and having written for almost 670 days in a row without missing a day, I feel like I've experienced the ups and downs, and I've been able to overcome it day in and day out with a few simple rules. Number one, the more you write, the likelihood that you can flow. And what is amateurs wait for inspiration? Uh, what is it? A professionals write with a headache. And it's that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm punching in. This is my time to write. I write. Now, writer's block. Let's define that because we need to start at the same place. So when I say writer's block, it means that that feeling of stuckness, that fear, that feeling of you can't find the flow and you can't even find the thoughts and the words to put into the paper to start getting cohesion and start creating that narrative that you're looking for. Very often people kind of freak out with that blank page syndrome and it just stares at you and you don't know where to start. So why does that happen? Now that we kind of understand, okay, what is it? Let's figure out why this happens. In my experience, there are a few reasons. Number one, perfection. The quest for perfection is one of the biggest killers of creativity, one of the biggest killers of momentum and flow, and it's one of the big contributors to this writer's block. That is combined with the next one, which is clarity or lack of clarity. When you have a lack of clarity of what you're trying to say or what would you like to say, then everything is going to be slower. You're not going to be able to move forward. It's like walking into a dark room. You're not going to be able to walk confidently across the room. Versus if you turn on the light, you can see everything around. You know you're not going to trip. You're not going to crash into a wall. You can see in front of you. And that is quite powerful. So essentially, clarity is turning on the lights to where you want to get to. And the final thing is perspective, which is tied into clarity. And when I say perspective is when you write from a vantage point. And what often gets judged as you're writing, as you're editing, is like, ooh, this doesn't flow right. This isn't speaking to my audience. This isn't even speaking to me. But actually writing, choosing a vantage point, even if you know it's the wrong one, even if you know it's not the one that you want, helps to bring clarity. And here's why. Because it moves you forward in a direction that is different where you are. Right now, you don't know the direction you need to go. By moving in a different direction, it gives you different vantage points and different points of interest that you can go from. And maybe you went down this vantage point, this perspective, and you're like, man, I love it. But if you have writer's block, there's a good chance you're going to say no. So now you got to say, well, what do I dislike about it? And as you kind of break that down, then you start saying, okay, well, what can incorporate these into a vantage point? And then you start writing in that direction. So part of this is clarity, perfection, and vantage point. And then the final one is patience, right? We oftentimes want things right now. But if you look at this as a journey, that you must take the ups and the downs, the dark and the light, the stumbles and the freedom, then what you'll find is that you're going to enjoy the process and you're going to embrace these moments of unclarity, these moments of darkness, these moments of struggle, because you know they're part of the journey that enrich it. Sometimes some of the biggest breakthroughs have been when I fought through this concept. And I couldn't quite get it right. I took a step back. I literally took a step and walked out, came back and said, ooh, now I can see what I hadn't seen before. So it just completely shifts it. So what are my thoughts on writer's block? It exists, but not because it's a thing, but it's because it's often where we are at that moment. It's the writer that we've shown up on the computer to start typing out is a person that has a block right now, has a lack of clarity, and has a overwhelming sense of perfection. So I hope that's been helpful. Hope that gives you a little bit of insight. And as far as how do you move forward with that is what I've said. How do, ask yourself ask yourself questions to bring about more clarity. Be okay with not being perfect. Choose a perspective, even if it's not going to be the final perspective, because that's going to give you a vantage point on which to edit and tweak and then point you in the right direction. This has been me, Armando. Catch you later. Have a wonderful day.